then I'm like, okay, now we're fucking cooking with gas. Because now people know, okay, we have to do this. This is what we're here to do. We're going to do it. And that'll be the thing that really, like, not only tells other candidates, hey, run on affordability. Doesn't matter where you are, run on affordability. Make sure. And then when you get in, fucking do it. Because you can do it. And because it's the only way, especially if you're flipping seats, the only way you hold those seats is if you deliver on the thing that flipped them in the first place. Hey everybody, welcome back. This week, we're going to talk about the elections because we think they are important for one reason or another. So, if you don't live under a rock, you would know that on this past Tuesday, there were elections in a few states, and some of those results were surprising. Okay, Ryan, since I definitely haven't seen this in a previous take that I personally fucked up by moving windows around, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I think the most obvious place from Tuesday's election is probably the New York City mayoral election and the win of Zoran Mamdani. And I think that's obviously, there's 300 plus million Americans. New York City New York City and its outlying area only represents a sizable portion of the American population, but still a small portion. But New York City is it is the cultural and economic center, or has always, for a long time, has been a cultural and economic center of the United States. And arguably, it's the mayor of New York City has always been probably the most important mayor in the U.S. I mean, being the mayor of a city as big as New York City is no different than being a governor. I mean, the amount of resources you have to manage and the population you have to manage. But it's worth noting, just because of Mamdani's platform and the campaign he ran, the kind of campaign he ran that got him both the Democratic that won him the
primary,
that won him the Democrat primary, as well as now the actual mayoral election.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of political pulling apart that campaign, because I think what you're seeing right now in a lot of people on the left is a very sort of split focus in the governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey, or focusing on the mayoral race in New York. And I think, like, people talk about the margin for the two governor's races, and how that margin was wider than the one in the New York mayoral race. But I think that always leaves out the obvious fact that it was essentially two Democrats and Curtis Sliwa running in New York. So a margin of greater than 50% when you're running against a Democrat is, especially like an established Democrat like Cuomo with all of his issues, but it's a very different look at those demographics than it is when you're running against a Republican.
Oh yeah. I'd also say on that, I mean, that's a good example because, a lot of people keep saying, or there are many of the Cuomo fans saying, Sliwa was a spoiler, when actually, by every metric of the word, Cuomo was trying to be a spoiler.
Yeah, he was an independent. The independent would be the spoiler in the race. And when you look at the vote totals across the board, even if Sliwa hadn't been in the race, assuming
he still would have lost,
nobody who voted for Sliwa would have just stayed home, Cuomo still would have lost. Would it have been closer? Of course. It would have been like 7 and change points closer. But like Cuomo still would have lost. And
Right.
and
Um.
I think the reason that that one in particular holds some significance is that it was essentially a race between a previously establishment endorsed Democrat and more of an outsider, member of the DSA. And so it was showing, at least in the city of New York, that there's appetite for something different than the establishment. And I have to say, I think we are now all cursed. So right after the 2024 elections, right when the administration started in January, I said we were going to be cursed to fucking hear about waste, fraud, and abuse for quite some time. And we did
Right.
for like 5 or 6 months. We heard about waste, fraud, and abuse every fucking day. From Doge, from fucking Trump, from every fucking Republican, from all the assholes online. All we heard was waste, fraud, and abuse. And like 5 months in Trump political times is years.
Oh yeah. In
And so
any other
now,
administration.
when we look at the races in New York and Virginia and New Jersey, uh, we see is that one of the things everyone was running on was affordability. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
really central to all three campaigns, and it's a good thing. It's a good issue. My only
Yeah.
concern is that, as we've seen since election night, Republicans have been trying to take up the mantle of affordability, which anyone paying attention
Right.
knows they don't give two shits about. And my concern is that affordability becomes the new waste, fraud, and abuse, where it's just used as a fucking smokescreen instead of an actual issue that actually needs to be addressed. And so we're going to be hearing a lot about it, but I do really hope that means we're actually going to be seeing something done about it.
You mean from our end or their end?
I mean, we're not going to see them doing shit about it from their end, but from
Well,
our
yeah, I know.
end.
I think so. I mean, I actually think that's a legitimate. I think what you're saying is a legitimate concern. Um, but I don't think any. First of all, well, I don't know if we're gonna have any. I mean, outside of say New Jersey and Virginia, I'm not really sure if the rest of us are actually really gonna feel. I mean, the rest of us are just gonna feel the regular stresses that the Trump administration puts on us, but I mean they'll still, I mean they're still not going to be free of federal headache.
No, but as you
But
and I know, as people living in red states, it would feel better to have a democratic government sort of.
trying on our behalf, yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. I honestly think I'm hopeful. I know that you know in a you and I are both, I think, healthily on opposite spectrums here, where I'm more hopeful, you're a bit more cynical, and I think that's actually good, because that keeps us balanced, and if this party needs that. um I think my biggest fear is that we're gonna that anyone on the party is going to take the wrong message away from this victory, right? I think that the my biggest fear is that people are going to take this message. They're going to take they're going to take 2025 for the midterms and say, "Oh, we should run more moderates, or we should run more leftists, or something like that." And I'm like, I still maintain that I think you should run a candidate who benefits their region. Places are different politically; they just vary. I don't think we should try to force any particular. I think this is actually true of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party needs to work harder on having better local branches in each state. I mean, some states do great, Virginia, places like that, but Virginia's been blue for like the last, like, what, 8 years. I mean,
Well, it had a Republican governor. It had a Republican lieutenant governor. It had.
Yeah, but it shifted pretty blue right around 2018. I mean, it's only gotten bluer, and that's great. I'm so happy for them. Um, but like for those of us living in red states, I mean, I would really love if the DNC would actually try to fund better local branches in our state so that we can try more grassroots um, you know, organizing. But I just think I'm just afraid that there's going to be a lot of infighting over different political ideologies. Um, because again, we talk about this as a big tent party. We can have different opinions on, like, I mean, look, I agree more with Mom Donnie than any of the other ones that won last night. But I still acknowledge that the other races were valid, and it's great that they won.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Quick.
I'm just afraid of people taking what. Sorry.
No. Quick clarification, because I'm not going to edit out you speaking, but it was not last night they won. We were recording this on a Friday. The election was a Tuesday.
Did I say last night?
You did say last night.
Man,
And I will not invite continuity errors and thus conspiracy into these videos.
I meant Tuesday night. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know what day I think it is.
It's a day. So I will say, and I sincerely hope no Republicans watch this particular one, this particular video, because I got two things. One which doesn't matter to them, the other which kind of does. The first is, I think it's encouraging that when we look at both the demographics in those states, the specific counties in those states, when we look at the percentage of vote, there was a consistent overperformance across the board. We are talking about young people shifted further to the left. The Hispanic vote shifted further to the left. Like we not only pushed back against the rightward shifts we saw in the last election, but pushed back further to the left, which is good. We saw that in almost all those races, they outperformed where Democrats did in 2024. It's important to note that there were two statewide races in Georgia, both of which went blue. The Virginia House of Delegates has also now gone majority blue. They flipped seats that were not expected to flip. Even the Virginia Attorney General race, where the Democratic Jay Jones, I think, had a pretty big texting scandal that broke, and he's still trounced by, 7 or 8 points, trounced the Republican, when polls going in had that Republican as the favorite.
Yeah, it was pretty high.
So all of that's good. And I don't want to downplay that. I will say, and this is something that's been sort of rolling around in my mind for a little bit now.
Right.
We are currently in the government shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans, and I don't think the reason they're not opening the government, or I don't think the reason the House is not in session is because of the Epstein files. I think the reason the House is not in session is because if the House isn't in session, even if the Senate reaches a deal, the House is not in session to vote on it, which means you're essentially saying no matter what the Senate does, unless they agree to the CR passed by the House isn't in session, so there will be no opening the government. So that's why the House is not in session. I think it's fun to rib them with the Epstein stuff, but it is clearly a leverage play to say the Senate will vote on what we sent them or nothing will get voted on. Now that CR that they put up is only through like the 20th or the 22nd of this month. So
I think
even if that gets passed, we'd be doing this all again come the 23rd. So there's all of that. The government shut down. Flights are getting canceled because the FAA is not able to function properly. And you've now got Trump, because of the results of Tuesday's elections, which the Republicans have tried very hard to downplay across the board. Because of those results, Trump's saying we got to get rid of the filibuster. If we get rid of the filibuster, we can pass all sorts of bills. We can pass everything, and they'll never get in power again. And my concern is, and has been, that if you were playing this strategically, if I was playing this strategically, I would wait with the government shut down until it got bad enough. And then what I would do is I would say, well, listen, government's not working, people aren't getting paid, people aren't getting their food stamps. We have to open it. And if Democrats won't open it, then we'll just get rid of the filibuster to do it. And then, once they get rid of the filibuster to do it, the filibuster is essentially gone. And now, you can pass laws to make voting harder. You can pass laws to hinder Democrats across the country. Without a filibuster, there are a lot of bad things they could legislate, and this Supreme Court is likely to let a lot of them slide. And they could use the cover of the government shutdown and people are hurting and people need food to make the case for having gotten rid of it and then use it to do as they please. And so that is my concern, that they are seeing that if things continue as they are, and they are too cowardly to stand up to Trump to stop the bleeding, then they may go, well, I guess we do have to get rid of the filibuster to make it that we do not lose. And that is my primary concern. Now, I know there are people who are principally in favor of the filibuster. I think that is fleeting, and
No,
it's going to depend.
Against it.
Like what I'm talking about in the Republican Party,
Oh yeah, no.
Like I think like everyone likes the filibuster when they're not in power. But I think the big thing is, like, if you were to remove the filibuster from the equation, the things that Democrats would pass would be things that like helped America and Americans, or at least tried to.
Yeah.
Things Republicans would pass would be to hurt Democrats. And that's why I think the math is wonky there on getting rid of it. Like, because I think it shouldn't be there because our agenda is good, but I think it should be there because their agenda is so catastrophically bad that, like, I get them having the filibuster means it's a shield and they don't have to be like, they be like, oh, we couldn't pass it because of those damn Democrats. But still, I think we're in a precarious position. And I don't like that.
Right. I think that's a legitimate concern. I mean, I do understand your take on that. Like, I do get the fear of them using the shutdown as a means of getting rid of the filibuster. I personally don't, as even with as feckless as they are, I actually do think the couple, like the two or three of them that really believe in it, in the filibuster, I really don't think they're going to cave. I mean, I'm not saying they'll run again. These are people that, I mean, Trump might threaten to primary them, or I guess worse, presumably. But I really don't. I mean, but I'm not going to pretend that the risk isn't there, though. I definitely acknowledge what you're saying, though. I don't really want to get necessarily into a debate whether or not the filibuster should exist. I think it's a separate discussion. Which personally, I also believe that I do believe the filibuster shouldn't exist. And I have my reasons, but I do get why, even in our current predicament, why it can be a good thing.
I mean, I'm just saying that I think now's
not a good time to get rid of it.
The worst time for it to be gone. And I've heard an
Oh yeah,
argument.
100%.
I've heard an argument from a couple of liberals that the best thing Republicans could do right now is to get rid of the filibuster for Democrats. Because if they did that, then Democrats would feel no need to have the filibuster when they retook power. And my concern on that is always, if they pass what they want to pass, can we do that? Like,
yeah, no, that's a legitimate concern. I think that's probably one of the bigger takeaways from that. I mean, I will say I think it's I just speaking on the sort of politics of the shutdown. I do think it does look good that I think Virginia's race kind of shows that the Republicans' efforts to pin it on Democrats, I don't think has played out well because Virginia is the state that would be impacted the hardest by the shutdown, and they overwhelmingly voted blue.
well, yeah,
especially in the counties surrounding DC.
Yeah, but I think that might have more to do with the fact that if you work in the federal government, you fully understand the reason you're furloughed. Like, you fully understand. Like, you're the one who was there when Doge came through and said, "Hey, I fucking hate you and I don't want you here and you're not worth a damn. And if I could fire you today, I would fire you today." And so, like,
but we've also seen polling that has shown. I mean, yes, Donald Trump's approval rating has always been dog shit, but it's actually gotten worse lately. And what, 7 out of 10 Americans actually blame the bad economy on him, which is correct. It is his fault. I mean, I don't know. I don't think the Republicans actually have a legitimate. I don't really think that they've managed to correctly or successfully pin any of these things on us.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. And like, again, I think Tuesday was important for morale.
Yeah,
I think
that's the biggest takeaway.
I think it was important for morale. I think it is important in terms of the government shutdown fight because it shows Democrats like, hey, the strategy you've taken by shutting the government down over this is working. You were not hurt by it. You outperformed your polls. If anything, you may have been helped by it. So putting up this fight is what we wanted earlier, but now that you're finally doing it, people are behind you. And like, it does not help that they are on the Republican side doing everything they can to seem like terrible people. Like,
yeah.
Like, truly, they give no fucks. They're talking about people who are starving on SNAP benefits, and they're just like, fuck them, who cares? They should be working. Even though the overwhelming majority of people on SNAP benefits are the elderly and children. And that's who the majority of the benefits go to. And most of the people on it, anyway, do in fact work. They just don't make enough money to support themselves. And you look at the fucking Gatsby-themed Halloween party at Mar-a-Lago. You look at fucking anything around how they're messaging around this. And, I mean, Mike Johnson is as sleazy as they come. You know he's lying because his mouth is open. And so, yeah, like, they're not helping themselves. And I think, again, it was good. The shifts were solid and everything was more blue than expected. And they were called early and Prop 50 passed. And like,
well, that moves potentially 5 seats in the House.
Yeah, I really feel like I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like Prop 50 should have been written to be open-ended in terms of like responding to other states as well. Because like Illinois really can't do much, despite the fact that Newsom called Pritzker out. But Pritzker has said that they would consider based on what Indiana does. Indiana may be concerned about trying to gerrymander now because gerrymanders work by thinning the margins in certain districts to increase the margins in others. And so if you are looking at a plus like in Virginia, like a plus 15, or in New Jersey, a plus 13. Or I think that might be switched. But if you're looking at like generic plus 10 ballots, gerrymanders get real dangerous real quick, and you risk having diluted your red blocks in the blue and then losing on higher turnout.
I mean, Indiana was. I mean, they weren't. I mean, it was a bit a while. It was a bit ago, but they were purple not that long
They
ago.
were, I think, they went for Obama in 08. I can't
Yeah,
remember if they
and
went in 12.
no, in 12 they. I think 12 they went to Romney.
Yeah. Uh, and so like it's like there's stuff to be hopeful about, but I do think it's one of those cases of we got some positive in us. We need to keep an eye on the prize, and nothing about what
Oh yeah.
happened stops ICE from snatching people out of fucking daycares tomorrow like they were doing yesterday.
Well, I think that's why it's so good that we have someone as like our age, someone that's uh as focused as Mom Donnie, because yeah, he had his night of celebration. That's great, but literally the next day he got to work. I know he can't do much right now, but he's already developing his transition team. He's working on his stuff right away.
He's got Lena
I
Khan on his
mean,
transition team.
which when I read that was like tear of joy. Like that's crazy
I was like,
that he.
damn,
I
Lena,
mean,
you're really slumming it now. You went from fucking head of the FTC to
but in her
transition team
defense,
member of the New York mayorship.
well, she should have been back. She should have been put. She should have been given more focus by the um uh whatever campaign, Kamala's campaign. But she's a one. I mean, the point is, um, I think a lot of the of many of these candidates, and there are many Democrats in power that recognize that this is still a moment to keep fighting, even if some of us maybe are. It's natural, especially online, for so many of these people to just it just becomes back. It just becomes rhetoric over and over again. But there are still plenty of them out there just fighting, and always working. Um, but also, I think an important part is the Republican responses to the victories in 2025, and I think the most notable for me was just Steve Bannon. I think he, of all people, recognizes how in danger they genuinely are. Um,
With his comments
I
about
mean,
how if Democrats won in 2026, he'd be in jail.
yeah, that's one of my favorites. He's like, if they win,
We're all going to be
me
in
and
jail.
we're all going to be. Which he naturally he says these things, and he says them with if you scrutinize it, he says, "Oh, well, I was just saying that because they're going to put political opponents in jail." But really, we all know it's just because he knows they do illegal shit. Because I mean, 2 weeks, 3 weeks earlier, he was talking about how he was going to keep Donald Trump in office as king.
I also want to hear.
Um,
Let me just break in there because I have something to say about Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is high on
yeah,
his own fucking supply. If he thinks he's important enough to get locked up anyway, he isn't involved in this fucking administration at all. They kicked him out during term 1, and now he's just been sort of
yeah.
talking like he knows shit on the side. Dude didn't do shit. So no, Steve Bannon isn't going to be in jail because Steve Bannon has no fucking juice. He's got no fucking clout. He's not worth anything. He can't do
He
crimes
doesn't
because he's
even.
not near a lever of power to do crimes with.
Yeah, I don't. He's not even actively like in contact with Trump anymore. That I believe. Um, and no, by no means. But I mean, but his sentiment is still correct, which is he sees the shift that he sees the demographic shift, the voting shift, and recognizes that I mean, most often in midterm elections, the opposing or the incumbent loses. The incumbent party generally loses. That's almost like at least for the last like 50 years that's been consistent.
Yep.
Um, it's inevitably going to happen again. Um, and but I think the wave is going to be. I mean, barring
Election
voter
fuckery.
election fuckery and voter restriction shit, which they will do. They always find loopholes besides doing active illegal shit that they'll try to do it in their own legal ways. Um, there could be a legitimate blue wave. I mean, this would be like 2018 on crack. It's just unfortunate that everybody kind of fucking forgot that they hated Trump during the first term
Well, that's because
because
they.
COVID just rotted a part of our brain.
Well, no, that's because they don't blame him for COVID for some fucking reason, despite the fact that it was actively made worse by him. And
It was his fault.
they take Obama's economy that Trump didn't really pass any legislation. He had no hand on the economy except for the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and which just poured fuel on the fire. But he didn't really do anything. He was just continuing Obama's economy. Like, it's actually, when you think about it, a fucking amazing that he's managed to hurt the economy as much as he has without legislation to do it this time. Like, his tariffs have been so fucking destructive that we're losing GDP growth. We're losing GDP. We're losing jobs. Like, at a rate that is wild when you consider that there's no externality. There's no other factor. Like, we're not losing it because of fucking COVID. We're losing it because he's dog shit.
Well, I also wonder on that note, I mean, that's the thing, right? So many people incorrectly tied his early, like the successes of the economy under him in the early part of his administration to him when it was explicitly because of Obama. And then his the the reforms he enacted while in office on top of COVID tanked our economy, and Biden sort of course corrected it back, but there was only so much he could do, and it really didn't improve that much. And I think that's the difference this time, right? He gets the economy back, and it was still kind of shit. And he's like, well, what if I take a shit economy and just shit it harder?
I mean, we were doing
improving.
we were doing the best out of anyone on earth in terms of economic recovery. So
yeah, that's not saying much.
I mean, it was a decent enough gap. The issue is that, like, your average voter and your average American doesn't understand like what the rest of the world was dealing with, because we are very, very like America centric, and that's due to our geographic distance from locations. But so we didn't understand that we were outperforming everybody else, but everybody was on the path to recovery.
But that also doesn't change the fact that prices have exceeded. I mean, and this is not because of. I don't think this is because of necessarily any president. This is simply because of corporate greed, which is prices have exceeded well beyond manageable for a normal person, while wages have not gone up.
Oh no, that's absolutely correct.
But people don't recognize. I think too many normal people aren't putting that together. They're not realizing that it's I don't know how to explain it.
People just think that the president has a button on his desk that says prices. That just says prices, and he can either hit the up or the down. And they seem to neglect that, like, what they don't want is they don't want government control of companies, which means you are very limited in what you can actually do to make a company, like what you could legally do to make a company bring prices down, especially without any sort of legislation. Now, that's different if you're willing to threaten the companies, because there will be no retribution for what you're doing. There'll be no investigations into what you're doing. So if you threaten people, then I guess that works. But Yeah, it is just a thing where like the cost of living is very high for everyone everywhere. And
Right.
I think that that ties back to what I was talking about at the front end, which is that I am afraid that affordability becomes a slogan and thus loses any amount of power it has in terms of being a call to action. And like it's really gonna like people now have like when you get power, you now have to deliver. Especially when you get power like they got in
Right.
Virginia. Like when you now control all the branches, it is now your job to deliver on the thing you said. And
I mean, you're the best example of that is California, right? California has controlled every part of their government for God knows how long, and yet they can't solve their housing crisis, their affordability crisis. I mean, there's so many problems in their state. And that isn't to say that there aren't good things in California. There's wonderful things in California, and there's a lot of wonderful politicians in California. But you're right. Too often there are too many politicians that just use it as a slogan and not as an actual call to action.
and so that's my concern generally about that. But like I said, I don't want to dampen the mood.
Right.
There are positive signs here. I just want everyone to like stay fucking grounded. Just stay grounded, keep your head in the game, and keep going forward because we are not even a year into his first term. And we got one more year until the midterms. And so that energy that was out there on Tuesday has to be fucking everywhere a year from now.
I will also say, I think that this shows me. I admit I was personally a bit more skeptical of the No Kings protests, not because I didn't agree with it. I do, but sometimes when you think about these protests, you always wonder if they ever make a difference. It's nice knowing when you see it in polling, you see it in voting, that Americans overall really truly are dissatisfied with this administration. It's nice knowing that like it's not just like word like people really are unhappy. And if we can keep that energy, I mean we can make meaningful change. And as far as the whole slogan verse call to action, I really think that's where we have to look to New York. I actually think that Mamdani will do everything in his power to change New York, and I think New York might be the kind of place where we can see real progressive policies taking place that hopefully inspire other states, other politicians to actually, you know, implement real changes that are going to help people. And maybe whoever the next president, hopefully a Democrat, God willing, will also try to, fix, if we can even fix the damage that Donald Trump and his administration has done to this country.
I'll say I have a little bit of a different take there. I don't think like I want to see Mamdani succeed, but I don't think
Right.
that's what's important. What I think is important
Okay.
is that Spamberger and Cheryl deliver on their call for affordability because I think what that shows is that from
Mm-hmm.
more centrist liberals, they get the message and they're willing to do things to deliver on it. So if
To
we can
fight for
see,
it.
yeah, so if we can see Spamberger and Cheryl deliver on affordability in their states with the mandates they've been given, I think that's a much more pertinent sign that Democrats get the
There's a
message and we're going to do something about it. Like, because I expect
Yeah, there's a
Mamdani
real
to do it.
shift in the party.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
I
I get
expect
that. No, that
Mamdani
makes
to
sense.
try. But if the other two get in there and they put in the work, then I'm like, okay, now we're fucking cooking with gas because now people know, okay, we have to do this. This is what we're here to do. We're going to do it. And that'll be the thing that really like not only tells other candidates, hey, run on doesn't matter where you are, run on affordability, make sure. And then when you get in, fucking do it, because you can do it. And because it's the only way, especially if you're flipping seats, the only way you hold those seats is if you deliver on the thing that flipped them in the first place.
And also, let's also not even make it. It doesn't. I mean, yes, we should be doing these things. We do these things because they are politically advantageous to us. But also, the whole point of us as Democrats is that we want to do things that help people, right? That's the thing that really separates us from Republicans. Republicans generally just want to help rich people. They want to help themselves. Democrats have always or should have want to help people. It doesn't, even if this isn't something, even if you don't necessarily think it would be politically advantageous, we should be fighting for affordability anyways. It shouldn't just be a slogan. It should be something you want to do to help people.
Yep.
Irrelevant.
Yep. And I think like two things, because I think this will probably be close to closing out, but two things.
Yeah.
One of my concerns about the American electorate is that if the economy were better right now, I think they'd be fine with the illegal shit and the unconscionable immoral shit. Like, I think if the economy was good, they wouldn't give a fuck about ICE. They wouldn't give a fuck about corruption. They'd just be chill. And so,
I mean, there'd be a percentage fighting, but it wouldn't be. It'd be like 10%.
It'd be rough. It'd be rough. And with that in mind, one of my concerns about Trump has always been that he will fucking ass backwards his way into doing good things for the American people that are just good enough to get them, like, to give him a pass on his bullshit, to give him a pass on the open crypto corruption, and a pass on the fucking corrupt pardons, and a pass on the murders in the Caribbean and the Pacific, and fucking pass on dismantling institutions, and a pass on, like, disregarding laws in the Constitution. And they'll give him a pass if he does enough shit that looks good to them in the short term. And so, like, yeah, I want America to be better for Americans, and only part of that is economic. But the part that people focus on is the economic. And so they don't really pay attention if they're losing rights, because you're not losing that right every day. And so I worry about that. I worry about that outcome of him ass backwardsing his way into a success. But he's fucking tone deaf. He's so fucking tone deaf. And he's asleep half the time now.
He's got enough. There's enough actual mental degradation at this point. I actually don't think he's going to do it this time like he would have in the first term.
Yeah.
He may actually die in term. It might happen.
Yeah, I do like the meme from that person passing out in the Oval Office this week. I've already used that. I already made it. So I made a meme of that almost immediately after it came out to show to my wife, which was under Trump, I put my wife, and then over with the group of people, I put me having really painful, loud hiccups.
That's so funny. Dude, I'm telling you, man, like, it's
if it wasn't governing our country, this shit would be hilarious.
It's actually sad because he's legitimately one of the funniest presidents we've ever had.
Yeah, it's just like,
I wish he wasn't evil.
Yeah, I mean, and what's crazy is with his hold over his cult, if he actually wanted to do good shit, like if he'd come in first term with the hold he had over his people, and he was like, hey, we're going to help the American economy, we're going to do good for people, we're not going to be a shithead, Democrats would have gotten on board, and his cult would have followed him. They're chill with him taking chunks out of companies now. Like, this is fucking czarist Russia. Like, they're fine with it. So there's no line they won't fucking cross for 30% of his electorate to follow him somewhere. So, like, He could have had it all, but he just wanted to be richer.
All, man. What an idiot! What an idiot!
I blame Stephen Miller.
Anyways, oh, Stephen Miller's the worst. It genuinely might actually be Stephen Miller's fault.
I mean, just generally, I blame Stephen Miller. I don't know if you saw, it was like on a Piers Morgan panel like a week or two ago. Katie Miller was on there. And
his wife?
Yeah, that's his wife, who has a podcast because she's married to him, I guess. And
why not?
Yeah, right. And
didn't she sleep with Elon Musk?
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I have no proof of this, but anyway,
we don't know if that happened.
She was on this podcast with like on one of Piers Morgan's podcasts, which is famous for having people from both sides of the political spectrum, and then they sort of argue over shit. And Piers pretends he's a centrist while being right-wing most of the time. And Cenk Uygur is saying, he says something along the lines of, oh, and they got the lying Millers out here. And she goes, that is an anti-Semitic attack.
Oh, I did see that clip.
It's like, he's just calling you and your shitty lying husband liars. It's not anti-Semitic because you happen to be Jews. It's you're liars because you fucking lie all the time. And then she's like, better make sure you didn't make any mistakes on your immigration papers.
Yeah, dude, I remember seeing that clip now.
Crashed the fuck out.
That was wild. Oh my God, I remember that. Jesus.
She crashed the fuck out.
She did. Well, we're getting off on a tangent here.
Listen, I'll roast Stephen Miller and anyone near him any day of the week. If you had a religion, it would be that. Yeah, here's the thing. I've just got a bunch of Stephen Miller burns that are sitting in my brain for if I ever see him in public. Like
100%.
I've just been racking up the fucking checklist, and I try not to use them anywhere else because I want them to be fresh if ever the day comes.
I need them for him.
Keep the powder dry. Okay, well, I guess that is it for us. So, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notifications. I mean, say hi, slap a comment down there. I don't know whether it's about the cat or it's about Ryan or it's about me or it's about how bad Stephen Miller is. Really, whatever your comment is about, so long as it's one of those four things.
We'll love to read it.
Yeah. So, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and hopefully we will see you next week.
Bye.